Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about different considerations with a variety of different size and shape handguns for your concealed carry. This video is mainly going to be for people that are looking for their first concealed carry handgun, but there may be some of you that have other guns and maybe you've been carrying, but you're looking for something a little smaller or a little bit larger and just want a little bit of information or context in terms of pros and cons and different things to consider when choosing your next concealed carry handgun, or like I said, your first concealed carry handgun. So I have a variety here. These are not all the guns that I'll rotate through. This one I don't concealed carry, but I just wanted to grab a little bit of a variety here, both in terms of size, in terms of optic, in terms of width, flashlight, no flashlight. And I just want to talk about some of the pros and cons of these different features, just so you can kind of piece together these different pieces, and hopefully it gives you a little bit of a head start on picking the next gun for your concealed carry. Just to start off, we'll start off smallest to largest here. We have the Springfield Hellcat. This is and all these guns have been cleared twice before starting the video, so don't worry about that. We have the Springfield Hellcat. This is iron sights, just the stock. I don't think this is a 3-inch barrel. This is the small size, not the Hellcat Pro. Next in size, we have the FN Reflex XL. We have the Systems MR920. Essentially a Glock 19 from a size perspective, so we can count it as a Glock 19 for that part of the video. More of you, I imagine, will be shopping Glock versus Shadow Systems. And then we have the full-size Springfield Echelon, so 4.5-inch barrel. It's a full-length barrel, full-length slide, and the full-length grip module as well. Now you'll notice these two do not have optics, it's just iron sights, and then these two are running optics. So this is the Holosun EPS carry, this is a Trijicon RCR. Now all of these different factors, right, the size, the grip, the optic, flashlight, all of that plays a big role in concealed carry. But I want to not only go over each of these individually and what I do and don't like about carrying these, but also talk about things you should maybe consider, especially when you're choosing your first carry gun, right? It's a little bit hard to know because you'll walk into a gun store, you say, yeah, I want a concealed carry, you start grabbing and holding different guns, but you know what feels good, you maybe know what shoots good, but you don't have the experience on the carrying side of things. So that's where hopefully this video can help you as I'm explaining some guns with different characteristics here. And it's a little bit hard to tell. These look obviously different size in the video, but there's a huge difference from trying to carry this to carrying this or carrying this. It's a huge, huge difference. And I'll carry these weapons in different scenarios. I may rotate between at least these three, depending on what I'm wearing, if it's cold, if it's hot, what I feel like dealing with. So there's a lot of factors to consider here, and there's pros and cons to all the options, right? So let's start with this Hellcat. Now maybe puts a little more context when I hold this in my hands. I have medium-sized hands. This pistol, right, it's a snappy little guy, but this pistol, when it comes to concealed carry, is fantastic. I bought this years ago. I've carried this more than any of my other guns. This has been 100% reliable. I'm not going to make this a review of the Hellcat or any of these, individually, but 100% reliable. I've put a lot of rounds through this gun for a micro compact. And when I bought this, it was kind of the beginning of that micro compact era. It used to be like a Glock 26, and that was the carry gun for 9mm. But the size went down, the capacity went up, and there's a whole new kind of genre of guns to choose for a small micro compact. Now, this one, my least favorite to shoot at the range, the least comfortable in my hand, as you can imagine. I'm getting about 2 fingers on the grip here. I have a magazine extension. I also have a flush fit mag. Realistically nowadays, if I'm going to carry this, I'm carrying it with a flush fit mag. I believe it's 11 round capacity. And the reason I'm doing that is because if I'm carrying this gun, I'm looking for the highest amount of concealment possible, right? I'm wearing something tighter or I need something light. So for me to carry this with the extended magazine, it really makes no sense because it starts bumping me into concealed categories of some of these other options in terms of how easy it is to conceal. Now, it is a narrow gun. The grip is very narrow. I can do some side by side here in a second, but this gun is not my favorite range gun, but it's a great gun for concealed carry. So something like this, what I would, somebody told me a long time ago that your favorite carry gun is very rarely going to be your favorite gun to shoot at the range. It's very rarely going to be the best shooter. If you're at the range and you have an outside the waistband holster, it's not going to be the gun you have in your holster. It's going to be the gun that you carry because you need something easy to conceal and something that you carry in appendix or on the hip and you want to not show through your clothes. It's a convenience gun. And the purpose of a gun like this is because if your only option was something like this, for a lot of you guys, especially those of you that are new to carrying, you're going to end up not carrying. If you have something that's bulky, hard to conceal, you have to change your entire outfit just to carry it. So I would say, if I'm going to buy one of these for concealed carry, this might be, if none of these exist and I have to buy one, this might be the one that I pick up. And that's just because this is the one that I'll have the least excuse to not be carrying. And I think from a concealed carry perspective, that is fantastic advice that I was given, and it's advice that I've tried to apply and I've seen is true whenever you're, kind of deciding what you're going to carry that day or if you're going to carry. So that's one thing I highly want to recommend, guys. You can have a gun that feels great in your hands, that shoots great at the range, but if you don't carry it because it's inconvenient or you didn't feel like changing your outfit, then it doesn't matter. It's better to have something that is a little smaller, a little easier to carry, but you actually are going to have on your person. So just remember that if you're buying a gun, for most of you, if you're buying it for concealed carry purpose, don't necessarily go for the one that feels the best in your hand. Look to fulfill the purpose, which is concealed carry, and then look at that category of guns, because there are other competitors to this, and then find the one that feels the best in your hands from that category, because it's very easy. You start trying other guns, you start moving to different categories, and then you find that, this one feels so nice, or whatever, this one shoots much flatter. Yeah, that's probably true, but if you haven't carried before, you're going to find that it can be inconvenient. It's definitely not as convenient as not carrying from a how you dress, your belt, your holster, comfort perspective, right? So this gun, I would say, is not the best at anything on this table besides how easy it is to conceal. And it does a great job at that. And it's a great, reliable gun. I do really like this. And just for anyone that notices, or if there's anyone that's not new to guns on here, this is a Powder River Precision trigger kit. Fantastic trigger. Totally changed this Hellcat. As you can set it up a little differently for different trigger weights, also for a crisp break or a rolling break. So I have the lighter weight and a rolling break on here, and it's really nice. Totally transformed this gun. The next one we're going to go to is the FN right here, FN Reflex XL. All of these are 9mm, and this one I feel is kind of a sweet spot between a subcompact and a compact, right? It's similar in size in some ways to the MR920, but this is a very, very thin gun, right? If we are comparing these two, you're going to see that the actual thickness is very similar between these, okay? This gun with the flush fitting mag holds 15 rounds. Okay, so it's 15 plus one in the chamber, or comes with an extended mag. I believe it's 17 rounds in that one. So this one's a little bit unique. It's an internal, all these are striker fire. This is an internal hammer design. So it gives the trigger a little different feel. I would say for somebody that's not too experienced, it's close enough. You're not really going to notice a big difference. This is my newest out of all of these on the table, and this is my primary carry every day. It's been a fantastic pistol, 100% reliable. Highly recommend, right? I think my theory is kind of this class of pistol, and you have a few in this category. You have this one, you have the SIG P365 Macro. Oh gosh, let's see. There's a Hellcat Pro. You have some in this category where you get a lot of the upsides, not total upside of a full-size gun, but you get, your hand. If I'm grabbing this grip, I can get all three fingers on this grip. I can get my entire hand on this grip. This allows me to get a much better purchase on this firearm and have much more control. So I can shoot flat. I can shoot much faster with this than something like this. But from a concealability perspective, the thickness is very, very similar. Okay, so something like this is a really, really nice kind of sweet spot in the middle. And whether you like the SIG flavor or the Smith & Wesson flavor or the Hellcat Pro flavor, whatever you like, it's going to be, totally fine. But I think this class, in my opinion, is the sweet spot. This could be maybe not your favorite range gun. Maybe it's not going to shoot as flat as something like this, but it's going to shoot fantastic. It's going to be a significant difference over something like this. So highly recommend you guys consider this or something in this class. I should have got to this last because my overall recommendation is going to be to go in this direction, size-wise. Now, one thing I want to mention is that from a carry perspective, right, for those of you that don't already know this, the barrel length does not play a huge role, right? 3 inches versus 4.5, it doesn't really make a big difference. The difference it can make is if you're carrying appendix, the total length of the weapon when you're sitting down can be more uncomfortable when you have a longer barrel. But so it depends on your holster too. Some holsters ride a little bit higher. So if that's the case, it's pulling the barrel up. So maybe the comfort remains similar. It just depends on your setup. But barrel length doesn't play a huge role and definitely doesn't play a big role in terms of concealability. So what does play a big role is the total height, right? And this is going to include the optic. I'll get to this in a minute. And the width of the gun, the thickness, right? I find that the total height plays the biggest role in concealability, with thickness being second, and thickness almost being more of a comfort factor, at least in my experience. But they all, all of these factors, everything, the barrel and slide length, the height, the thickness, that all kind of meshes together to create a total score of how easy these guns are to conceal and how comfortable they are. Easy, convenient, comfortable, for example. Let's move on to the shadow systems, right? We can call it a Glock 19 in terms of size. This gun is going to be much wider, a little bit easier, or a little bit hard to tell in this video, but it is much wider. It's much more chunky. Lengthwise, you're going to see a little bit more length. It's angled, so the length is hard to kind of compare, but you're going to see length difference about like this in the bottom. Not a huge difference, but the weight and the width of this is what makes a big difference. So I would say in some, depending on what you're wearing, this can be easier to conceal than this because the grip is slightly shorter. At the same time, the magazine base plates on this are a little bit longer, and these are a little bit shorter, a little bit thinner. So very similar in length, but this is thicker. So I would say between these two, this one wins. It's just the grip, the height is so similar, and the thickness is a significant difference. So this one kind of gets the upper hand on this. At the same time, this is a Glock 19 clone, right? Glock 19 has been kind of the gold standard for carry pistols forever, So this gun carries great. A beautiful thing about this gun or a Glock 19 is you have a huge amount of holster options. So you can carry so many ways. Something like this gun specifically, the aftermarket is much smaller, okay? On these Springfields, it's larger, but FN is a little bit smaller aftermarket, a little bit more of a niche thing. Now we move on to the Echelon, okay? If I'm gonna go to the range, this is my range toy. This thing shoots fantastic, very, very flat. Has the added weight of an optic, added weight of a light on the front here. So of course this is going to help. So you get this beautiful purchase whenever you're holding this. I mean, you have extra space. You have a little bit of a gas. I'm a lefty, so instead of riding on this gas pedal, I'm kind of riding on this like a gas pedal. So, you have extra weight. You have the ability to cover much more of the frame with your hands, get a lot more skin to frame contact. So this thing is going to shoot better than any of these. It's not even close, okay? This would be a nightmare to conceal. If we're looking at the thickness, this gun is not an especially thick gun, but you can see a significant difference right here. A significant difference, okay? So, and we haven't even started talking about the optics yet. So, great range gun, not a concealed carry gun. If you are open carrying, if you are hiking and you want to open carry there on a chest rig or on your hip, sure, why not? Grab the big gun, it's going to shoot better. The capacity is going to be insane. I think it is I might be wrong. I think it's 19 flush and 21 with the extended magazine that Springfield sends with it. So I think that's right. Great gun, not a great carry gun for most people. And this type of thing is where somebody can make a mistake if they're going in and they're buying their first pistol. They hold this, they say, this one feels so nice. Yeah, this one, my hand doesn't get on it. It just feels so tiny. So they buy this they buy a holster and then it's just going to end up sitting in a cabinet or sitting in a drawer. I mean, or just sitting. It's going to maybe get carried a few times in the beginning, and then you're going to get tired of it. It's going to suck if you're wearing sweatpants a lot or shorts, and now you feel like you have to wear jeans and a gun belt and all of this. It's going to be too big of a difference from where you're starting from to realistically, for most of you, be carried all the time, right? So 4 pistols, relatively similar looking, but a totally different experience between all 4 of these, from shooting, concealability, and just general purpose, right? If this is a nightstand gun, amazing. If this is a glove box gun, amazing. If you want to conceal carry, if you're an experienced concealed carrier and you know exactly how to dress around it, or you live in, let's say, a cold climate, so you're wearing heavy clothes, jackets, pants all the time, sure, you can carry something like this. You know, even if that was the case for me, I'm still sticking to something like this for my primary carry. And if I only had one of them, it would be something these 2 sizes that I'm buying first, regardless. But everybody's different, right? So I'm not here to tell you what you should do. I'm telling you what my experience is in the different considerations between the sizes, the thicknesses. Now I want to get into talking about lights and then optics after that, right? So in my experience, lights, whether you need it or not, that's up, need it or want it, that's up to you, and it depends on your situation. But I don't really care that much about carrying a pistol with a light on it. It's not a big deal, right? This is my nightstand gun. This is my primary range gun. So I have a light for the nightstand, and the light for the range is for the extra weight on the front, makes it shoot a little flatter, right? I appreciate that. So in terms of concealed carrying, you can buy light-bearing holsters, of course. I would say that these don't make it any harder to conceal, but especially if you're carrying appendix, they can make it less comfortable because it takes the bottom part of your holster, right? That's going to be digging into your pelvis the most when you're sitting down, and it makes it, instead of being this wide, it makes it this wide, plus some. Of course, there's a little extra on the ends, but so it's a very wide holster at the very lowest part of the firearm. So that tends to just make it more bulky feeling. When you're standing up, you're not really going to think about it. It's not going to print through your jeans or whatever any more than without a light, in my experience, but it is going to make it less comfortable. So that's really up to you. If you're carrying in the waistband, on the hip or behind the hip, I would say, yeah, go for it if you want it. I don't think it's going to make any real difference at that point, because you're not really, the flexion is happening in the pistols to the side of your legs coming up. It's not in front where your legs and your pelvis is hitting the bottom of the firearm. So that's my take on lights. Now, optics, right? I used to be a diehard iron sight fan, and I said, yeah, I won't run an optic. I don't like that something can fail. And then I made the mistake. I bought this optic. Now I have 5 optics between my pistols. So these 2 don't have an optics cut, or they'd probably have optics on them too. I love shooting with an optic. It really grew on me. I don't think I'll ever go back willingly. The downside from a carry perspective is the added height, right? When you're carrying this pistol, let's say you're looking down at and you're carrying an appendix, turn it this way. I'm a lefty once again, so I'll turn it this way for most other people. You just added this much height. You just added these kind of corners onto something that can print through your shirt much easier, right? So that's another reason when I'm comparing this FN to the Shadow Systems, yes, this one is a little bit thicker, but it doesn't have an optic. So not only is the height already a little bit less than the FN, but you also remove the optic on top. So I think that's what makes this one compete with this FN in terms of concealability, just because you don't have the optic. So let's take this Hellcat, right? Even if this had an optics cut, I kind of take back what I said a minute ago. This one would not have an optic. Okay, this one would not, because the purpose of this gun is not to have an optic extension. You're just, at that point, you're building it into something like this anyways. And it's never going to quite be the same as something like this, the Shadow Systems or others in the similar category. So I think an optic can be great, but once again, that's going to make it harder to conceal. So most holsters nowadays have an optics cut. So as long as you get a holster with an optics cut, if you do have an optics cut slide, you don't need to add an optic right away. If you're new to shooting, if it's your first firearm, just go shoot it, enjoy it, carry it, and then you can add an optic and see how that affects the carry. If you buy a micro compact like this, I would encourage you to not add an optic practice with the iron sights, and then down the road, add on optics, because it, without a doubt, does print in your shirt. And it also depends if you're carrying appendix more in front of your body or a little bit more to the side. I'm a little bit more to the side. So that's going to take the mag and it's going to kind of, or the grip, and it's going to kind of push it against my body at the same time as it's going to take, so it's going to push the grip against my body, but it's going to take this optic, as you can see, and it's going to push it out. So it's much easier that you get printing from this side of the optic. So, and if this wasn't here, you'd be getting printing from this side of the frame, but it's just that extra inch that you're shaving off the top of the gun. It's a significant difference. With that said, this is my primary carry gun. It does have an optic. The optic looks decent size here. It is an EPS carry. So realistically, it's not a large optic. It's relatively small, and I don't find it affecting me that much. And if I print just a little bit when I'm carrying, it's not the end of the world. Some people really care about that. Now, you're not going to catch me carrying one of these with a really tight shirt where you can blatantly see a handgun. But if I can move certain ways and you see a little bit of the corner of this, I don't think most people think about it. I've never had anybody that saw it that wasn't looking for it. So at the end of the day, guys, you got to go to the range, hold different things, shoot different things. But before you do that, if you're going to go to the gun store, going to go to the range, know what you're looking for. If you're looking for a carry gun, have your comparison be between carry size pistols, and don't even touch or hold something like this. Honestly, don't, right? Maybe go to this size and then down, and then see what's the best fit of, what's thin, what's the best size, what's going to meet your goals and to help you accomplish a successful concealed carry that you have on you as often as possible. And then check the boxes of comfortable, easy, fun to shoot, all of that stuff. You also need to consider, when you're going to smaller pistols, capacity. Nowadays, most of these guys have, their current models have quite good capacity for the size. So you should be in a pretty good spot there, but of course be mindful of that. And then last but not least, make sure you're buying a reputable brand, because if the handgun isn't reliable, it's a bad carry pistol, no matter how well it conceals or no matter any of these other factors that I've talked about today. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions or if you have any advice from your own personal experience. I'm always learning and always experimenting, so I would love to hear it. Thanks, guys.